All right, so it's time to begin. Hello, my name is Mike Crook. I'm the user experience director here at Metrics. Quickly, I just want to say again, welcome to today's webinar, and thank you for joining. Marcus, let me hand it off to you and let you kick things off.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. Hello to everyone on the call today. This is going to be a fun one. Professional development is important. That's a real simple title there, right? We're going to be talking about why is professional development important within the context of GME. And I think we've got some UME people on this call as well. But why do we want to improve ourselves personally, professionally, et cetera? And then once we figure out why we want to do it, how exactly do we do it? And we're happy to welcome back to the program. Natasha, go ahead and take yourself. You can share us. There she is, live and on stage. Natasha Brock's back to join us here today for everyone at Metrics. So we're going to get started with this program. Hey, listen, some background information, or I should say, some housekeeping. This probably isn't the first webinar that you've sat in, and hopefully it's not the first one you've sat in from Metrics. Although if it is, welcome. We're happy to have you here. But yes, absolutely. This program is being recorded. You will get a copy of all the slides and the recording after the show. Like any Zoom webinar, you've got the ability to ask questions, to put things in the chat. Mike's going to be monitoring all that for us, and we encourage you to do so. Today's speaker, Natasha Brox from GME Admin Insights, she's one of the best, and this has been a part of a recurring series that we've been doing with Natasha. We try to go back and forth between some different topics, whether they be strategic, how to run your department better, or tactical, or things like this where it's just professional development. How can you be the best person you can be within your job? But I do want to talk about what's coming next month, because if this one is all about personal improvement, next month we're really going under the hood for the GME coordinators under there. It's going to be show me the money, iris reporting, its importance, and how we actually want to make sure that we're doing it correctly so we get those valuable reimbursements. So that show is coming up next month. So keep a watch out for your emails for that one. We'd love to have you for that one. Natasha is also a frequent guest on the MedEdge podcast. If you're not familiar with MedEdge, MedEdge puts out 2 episodes a month. We speak with physician leaders. We speak with GME administrators, UME administrators, and coordinators. Anyone who's involved with medical education, we bring them on MedEdge. And so please check that out wherever you get your podcasts as well. But today, we're going to be talking about professional development. Now, before we get to that, I am just going to share with our team here. For those of you who aren't familiar with Metrics, Metrics is the premier engagement platform for all methods of medical education, whether that be UME, GME, nursing, or even veterinary. Those are the types of people that work with Metrics on everything from inside our platform, whether that be case logs, evaluations, curriculum building. Those are all things you can do within Metrics. Here are the things that we think makes Metrics a little bit different. Process development. Whenever you're talking about technology, technology is just going to be a reflection of the processes that you have in place. So the Metrics team will work with you to make sure your processes actually are buttoned up. Software changes all the time. That's why we provide in-depth training for the software that we provide as well. And finally, industry-specific support. Those of you who are familiar with Metrics know our CEO, Santosh Cherian, is Dr. Santosh Cherian. He is a practicing radiologist. We have other members on our team who come from the GME and UME world. These people know medical education just as much as they know about the software. So lots of different ways that Metrics tries to stand out in this amongst the different solution providers that we have out there. What exactly can you do inside Metrics? Well, those are all the modules right there. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see everything from evaluations and assessments, iris reports. We'll be talking about that next month with Natasha. Portfolios, projects, everything that you're looking to manage medical education, you can do that inside Metrics. Metrics practice medicine, not software. Let's get to today's speaker. I love having Natasha on the program. Natasha Brox is the CEO and founder of GME Admin Insights. She's got a newsletter, she's got a podcast, she's got a video. And one of the reasons we always bring Natasha onto this program is, quite frankly, she thinks a lot of the way we do here at Metrics, which is, yes, we have tools to do our jobs better, but tools are just one part of the solution. Every solution that we come up with today in medical education comes down to people, processes, and platforms. And today, Natasha is going to be focused on the people, and not just the people, but making sure that all the people that we have in our organization know how to level up their game. And that's why I love having Natasha here, because every time I have her on, she encourages me to level up my game. Natasha, how are we doing today? Oh, unmute yourself here now that I finished my
I
my
was giving you
monologue.
the floor. I was giving you the floor.
How are we doing today, Natasha?
Doing well. I'm doing well, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing great. And one of the things that I want to start with right here is we're going to be talking about professional development today. And when we get into the why we do professional development, it's really easy for us to say, well, why do I want to do professional development? Well, I want to make more money, or I want to get a more important job. But I want to stop on this slide right here, because it's one of the things that I know is near and dear to you, Natasha, is how important medical education is. So, yes, we want you to do professional development to have a more fulfilling career. Yes, we want you to do it so that you make more money. But let's not forget that when you do that, you're having a profound impact on the environment around you. Each physician you train will impact more than 10 lives a day for 260 days a year for 30 years. So, when we talk about making ourselves better, Natasha, making ourselves better is really about making everything about medical education better. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree because that's basically our job. That's what we do. We are here for the physicians, the residents who will become physicians. So when we make everything better for us, for the residents, it's better for us because in GME, it's on our shoulders anyway. So why not?
Exactly. Wonderful. We've got an agenda slide here. Let's see what we have on it. There we go. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about this really quickly. Professional development. Why? Why is it even important? Simon Sinek encourages us to start with why. We'll be doing that today. Well, once we've got you all bought into that, then we'll be talking about how to go about professional development. Then we're going to do a little bit of a sidebar. We're going to talk about personalized coaching. So much of the training that's out there today, obviously, we have webinars like this where we have dozens of people in with us today, or you might be going to a conference. The Metrics team is heading out to AAMC in a few weeks in Atlanta. But there's another way you can do it too, which is just one-on-one personalized coaching. And Natasha is one of those people that is just ideal to speak with because, and I love this, she is a coach and she has a coach. And so she sits right there at the nexus of that. And so we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, we've got Q&A at the end. Please keep those questions and answers coming. Now, one of the things that Natasha and I always like to do is we kind of like to know, okay, what do we have here in the audience? What are we working with? That helps us form our conversation as we're moving forward. So Mike just shared our first poll question with you there, which is, which of the following best describes your current approach to professional development? Are you one of those people? It's like, you know what, people have been saying I should do this. I haven't really spent much energy on it yet. I know I should be doing more, or you know what, I'm a Natasha. I'm training people. I'm getting trained. I am all about it. Take a moment there and fill out that poll, and
Right.
let's see who we brought in the room with us,
And
Mike.
really think about this. Be intentional when you answer this about where you sit. Like, do you really need it? Don't be scared to answer truthfully. Oh, great.
Look at that! Wow, that is
That's good.
incredible. And Natasha, I also think that means that I think that means we've got our work cut out for us.
I know, but it's great to see that a lot of people are seeking these things out, especially in GME, because that's why I started everything because there was nothing for us. So to see people want to develop and want to grow, 93%, that is great. And I think that's the first step of your professional development is seeking.
Absolutely. That is incredible, and I love to see it. Mike, go ahead and bring up the other question. And based on those answers, I might actually reframe it a little bit. And now this one, I think this is a really great question because 93% of you say, I know I should be doing this. And then we had that one person who said, yeah, I need to be up in my game a little bit. So let's talk about it now. I'm one of those people who believes that we try to simplify these things, but when we talk about the barriers to professional development, I'm going to be honest. I think for most of us, it's a combination of factors. Would you agree, Natasha, that it's probably
Yeah.
not one of these things? But for the
It's a combo. Yeah, it's a combo. But you know what? I would probably say lack of time will probably be the most response. Only
okay,
because of time management. Didn't I tell you?
oh, look how smart she is,
I
folks.
knew it. I
There
knew
it
it.
is. Yeah. And that's tough. Limited access that that's a big one. And I think, Natasha, that goes back to sort of the reason you started up GME Admin Insights is because for your particular role, there hasn't been historically a lot of material out there. So that's a
No.
good one. We're going to talk a little bit about buy-in, getting employer support, and then also where to start with. Natasha's got some great advice for us for that. Lack of time is an interesting one, and I think we all struggle with it, and I think there's a lot of different ways to solve that. The thing that I know I always try to do is just think about the fact that we time is the one thing that we all have the exact same amount of. So it really it becomes it doesn't become really how do I get more time, but it's an allocation of time.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, those answers didn't surprise Natasha. I'll share a little bit about Natasha when we were prepping for this webinar. 5 minutes before the webinar, Natasha's on an important call. So like that, I mean, that's the reality for all of us, right? How do we carve out this time to actually make ourselves better? And Natasha, it's also trickier here because let's face it, and you've talked about this. This is not a stagnant industry, is it?
No, no, not stagnant at all. I mean, when you think about like now, programs are growing, so you have to be able to, keep up with it. There's going to be a rise in the fall, then it's going to be, steady. So it's like, how do you continue to adapt to what's going on around you as you build yourself up? And when you go back to the time management piece of it, it's crazy when I think about like when I was in my undergrad, one of my professors told me time management is key. Like if you're an early person, use that time when you wake up early to study, read, whatever. If you're a late person, use that time. Like if you're in the car, you could be having an audio book, thinking about just a lot of different things. So it's nothing is stagnant, and I don't believe that the person should be stagnant because you have to continue to build yourself up with what's going on in time.
Right, right. I think that's very well said. Now, let's move on to the Simon Sinek question. Why professional development matters, and I think some of these are obvious, but some of them may not be as well. When you think about, Natasha, why professional development matters, these are kind of the pillars that you provided for us. So, walk us through some of these, why it matters.
Okay, so when you think about like the job market, you have to be equipped to handle certain things. Like I said, CMS has exploded to where programs are coming every day, but are you ready? So you're a program coordinator, right? So when job opportunities come along, are are you ready or do you have to get ready? So there's a difference. So if you are going through the motions of just going to work, doing, you're not going to be ready to take that next step, right? But if you get the skills, if you learn, if you deep dive, if you ask questions, why is this, why is that? When you improve yourself, then that means you are already up here. So when a job opportunity comes along, you're quick to step in and you can go. But so you never want to be left behind. And then it for me it just boosts your I don't really want to say your morale, but your for lack of better words, I'll say morale about yourself, right? Because then when you know what you know, then nobody can take that away from you and you can speak to what you know instead of, you can walk in the room with whoever and you know exactly what you're talking about. So you always have to continue to build your professional development for you personally and for your job. So
Right.
so nobody can, say that you don't know.
I think in many ways, you have a choice when you do a job, any job, which is you can let that job be defined for you by someone else, or you can also help to define that job. And I think that's what you're getting here with professional development, that if you see the things that are changing, the trends that are changing, you can wait for somebody to say, oh, by the way, that's not part of the job description, or you can kind of be at the forefront of that and say, well, here's exactly how I'm going to blend this into the role that I'm doing. Is that what you're getting at there?
Yeah, but because you have to be on board and stay on board. So when you see that things are moving a certain way, and it's crazy, Marcus, because I was looking at an old podcast that I did like 5 months ago, and I had said the same thing, like CMS has expanded, the programs are going to expand it, and then here we are today. And back 5 months ago, I was telling a couple of my program coordinators, you need to make sure you up your professionalism, your game, what about this? You need to do this. You need to, okay, finish those credits so you can get your bachelor's, take your tag me. 5 months ago, I was saying this because I knew that this was going to happen. So they was able to get their professional development in order. So now they're where they need to be. So all of this expansion and all of this, evolving of programs. And so now they can grow and not stay stagnant to where they are now.
That's really well said. I'm glad you shared that with us. You mentioned, changes 5 months ago, and that's just one of the changes, right? I mean, I'm looking at the screen here now. One of the things that I think is really interesting, Natasha, and I want to spend a minute here. Look what's on the screen. We've got EHRs, we've got telemedicine, we've got sim work up there. And here's the fascinating thing to me about the people on this call today. Nobody on this call today runs a sim lab. Nobody here is doing telehealth. But in your world, you have to have a good understanding of all these. And I've got 5 of them up here, but there's even more. So, how do you think about that, Natasha? Clearly, you can't become a sim lab expert. But how do you look to know? And you shared with me how you did this as it related to SimLab, because I'm like, Natasha, what do you need to know about a SimLab? So actually, let's stay on that example.
Let's stay on this. Okay,
tell me what you did to get smarter about SimLabs.
The thing about it is with the SimLab, we do not, as coordinators, we don't go to SimLab. We don't do anything with SimLab. We may set up book the room, and there you go. The doctors take it away, right? But and I was very thankful because my PD at the time, he was like, you're coming. And I'm like, okay. So, and I'm looking, I'm like, what is all of this? Because I'm in the office, I do the office work. But he was like, okay, this is this and this and this. I'm like, oh, so you have to write out codes. Oh, so not only was I asking questions of how everything moved and maneuvered and what this room was for, like, let's say, trachs, this room was for somebody was giving birth, so there's different rooms. So then I'm like, okay, so what are these sheets for? They were codes. So the doctor would actually write out, the sim director, he would write out the codes for each room. And then they would, put the codes in, and the residents would have to respond to whatever the mannequin is doing, right? So I'm like, oh, well, how do you do that? So with my asking the questions, and then they're showing me what they do as a physician and how it in turns goes into the computer, and then the residents, and then we get back, they formulate their responses. So I was like, okay, this is very interesting.
But to do this, it started with what? You saying I want a field trip of the sim lab? Like it was.
You have to be engrossed in it. You have to put yourself in there, right? You just can't, like, I've seen where they have like a sim coordinator, right? But if you've never done the sim coordinator, what do? But if you have your program and they go to sim, put yourself in that atmosphere, ask those questions, get involved. So that way, when you see a posting for SIM coordinator, you could be like, oh, I know exactly what's going on. I know how to do that. I've learned about that from my PD. So when you go and you apply and you sit down and you talk, you know exactly what it takes to put those codes in, to run that sim lab, to get those results. But it
Mhm.
all starts with you wanting to put yourself in the room where it all happens. You can't be in the background. You can't make excuses. You have to be like, I want to learn this. I'm going to ask my questions and I'm going to know this for myself. That's
Right.
where it starts.
And I'm guessing for somebody like you, it almost feels like when you're sitting at the computer, and whether you're in Medtrix or you're in another medical platform, you're doing this work and you're like, I'm not really sure how this data matters. And it's almost like your spidey sense goes off and is like, I need to ask some questions. How does this impact the growth of the resident? Is that kind of how it is for you? You're looking at something on your screen and you go, I just have some questions. Like, how does it happen for you?
I always have questions. My mother always told me to know it for yourself. Don't let anybody tell you. And I didn't listen to her one time. And I was like, well, this, and I just knew it was right, but it was wrong. And I went off of what someone told me. So ever since grade school, I'm like, no, I need to learn this for myself. So that's where I ask questions and I get involved and I get my hands in because I'm inquisitive. I want to know how this works. How is this done? Why did you do it this way? Why can't we do it this way? That's the only way that you will learn for yourself and then you grow from there. So
Mhm.
learn it for yourself, most
we
definitely.
we we discussed before that there's obviously a wide variety of reasons you want to step up your game with professional development, obviously to serve your customers better, whether those customers be administrators or residents, or even patients. But we also talked about career opportunities. And one of the things that I know you pay a lot of attention to, Natasha, is the different opportunities that are out there and how these opportunities are evolving. So talk to me about some of the trends that you're seeing for these jobs that are posted now. What are they looking for that maybe they weren't looking for previously, and how does professional development help us to close those gaps?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of either director jobs, director division jobs, or even corporate jobs, um, corporate director jobs, but they're still all in within CME. And years ago, it was your program coordinator, director, and that was it. And that was it. You didn't see anything else, but because of the growth of programs, now you're seeing more titles out there that there wasn't before, not even within the last 5, 10 years, right?
Mhm.
So you have directors, you have all these roles that are now opened up. But when there's more roles, there's more responsibilities, there's more skills that you have to have, there's more qualifications. So if you don't have them, you're going to lose out on making that professional jump or, obtaining this new title or what have you. So the roles are out there. Literally, they're out there every day because programs are expanding.
Right.
Universities, like teaching hospitals, they're expanding so much. So they need the people because what's going to happen is if you're a coordinator, of course, they may want to take their coordinator and bump them up, but you still have to be ready, right? You still have to be ready for that promotion. And then new program coordinator positions are coming every day. But the leadership positions are now expanding within GME that it hasn't been in years.
Right. Right. Question for you. One of the things that I notice about this slide that we have up now, that this particular job opportunity, it was this job was reposted, and oh, we're only seeing 8 applicants right here. One of the words that I don't think we have on any slide, but I want to talk to you about this, Natasha, is goal setting. Which I think probably should be part of the professional development conversation, right? Because I think, right now there are so many opportunities in this space that when you look at putting together your professional development plan, it really should be aligned with what your goals are. So,
Yes.
when we take a look at this here, the way I see this is, well, with only 8 applicants, if I'm qualified and I throw my hat in the ring, I'm going to be in the mix for this. So, what advice do you, and I just want to ask you this question, even though it's nowhere in the slides, where does goal setting fit in here? When you look at your professional development plan, should that be an outcome of the career goals that you've set for yourself?
You know what? I think goal setting should be the very first and the very last, right? Because you want to set your goals. How are you going to be an assistant director in GME? Like, how are you going to get there? You need a goal to accomplish to get you there, right? So very much set your goals. What will it take me from where I am now to get to where I want to be? And I'll always say this. So you have to plan out, it's like those steps, those goals. And then once you accomplish them, you're marking them off, right? So once you get there, it shouldn't stop. So you plan out more goals because you still have to stay relevant in your professional development, which means you're continually working, you're continually getting education, you're continually, just like physicians, they have CME, right? They constantly, have didactics or what they go to get recertified, and we should too. We should continue to make ourselves where if we want something, we can get it. We can reach out and touch it. And like you said, Marcus, you throw your hat in this ring with 8 people, but what's going to separate you from those 8 people, right? Is it, oh, well, I'm working on this and I'm getting this, or I have these skills, but I don't have this qualification. Or are you going to be that one that says, yes, I have these skills. I have this qualification. Yes, I know how to do this. Yes, I've worked with that, and that sets you apart from the 8 people that you have who have already submitted their resumes for this position. So you have to make sure you're qualified and you have to make sure you're ready. There's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right? So the
I love that.
same thing applies. If you stay ready with your professionalism or professional growth and your professional development and your professional plan, and you're continually working on yourself, then whatever comes along, you can apply for it.
Right, right. This is really well said. So if we think about what that looks like from a game plan, and I think this plan makes sense because the one thing that Natasha, that you and I talked about is, in some respects, the medical community has it easier than those of us who support the medical community, in that your continuing education path, there is a structure, there are programs, and like what I really love about our earlier example was you taking a field trip to the sim lab. You didn't get continuing education credits for that. That is Natasha saying, I will be better at my job if I do this. So it's all professional development, whether it's formal with a continuing ed credit or not. But this is your game plan here for professional development. Just walk us through these 5 steps.
So first, you create a plan, because how are you going to get down the road if you don't know where you're going, right? So you have to create a plan that is for you. And everybody is different. So if you are striving to be a director, or if you're striving to their new program coordinators, well, I just want to make it out of my 3 years, yeah, right? So what's your plan? You have to be intentional about your plan. So you have to make your plan. And once you have it listed out, then you have, it says identifying the needs for the gaps. So what are the gaps? So once you made your plan and you look at it, oh, well, I don't say I don't have my bachelor's, then that's something maybe I need to think about getting or continuing. I don't have my CTAG me. Maybe I should think about that. A black belt wouldn't hurt, so start going through those colors. So whatever it is, when you see the area that you need to close, let's start closing that gap a little bit.
Right.
Constantly working on what is specific to you, right? And then when it says find your resource, your professional network. I like this because when I think about professional network, I always stress sit on committees, sit on different boards if you can, because that helps you. You're around different, people. So you're going to hear people talk differently or think differently. And I remember I had um, one of my members that I coach, the first time she got on a committee, she was angry all the time because, they were like, they didn't like my idea. Well, see, and that's why you need to be on a committee, because you're with different people, and you have to be able to know how to either take things personal or not, how to speak to people, it's a give and take situation, and it's not about you. It is nothing is personal. This is all business, right? So, and it helps the committee grow. So
Mhm.
when you're sitting at different seats, you are refining yourself, right? You are learning different things, not just about the committee, but about yourself. And so then you're like, okay, well, even though they didn't like my idea, now I see it. Now, oh, that makes sense. So being on a committee, if you've never been on a committee, find that personal network, especially inside your specialty and out. And I always say, make sure you have one that is outside your specialty, because that's where you learn the most. Do an association that is outside of your specialty, and then continually to refine your plan. Because once you mark off your goals and your steps, you have nothing left, but there's always something you can add on to it. So continue to look at your plan. Okay, I marked those off, but let me add this to it. I'm adding things to my plan still all the time.
Right.
So it's never enough to be like, okay, I've completed everything that I needed to do or wanted to do, or I'm satisfied now. And
Right.
each his own, but when you really want to develop and continue to grow, that's what you need to do as well.
Let's spend a moment on point number two, identifying those areas of need or gap. I think people are often at different levels of the ability to
Yes.
do self-reflection. As I mentioned this morning, we recorded an upcoming episode of MedEdge. We had a physician on the program, and he's in the process of getting his MBA. And I said, why? And he said, because I don't understand the business of medicine. Talk to me just a little bit about, when you think about identifying those gaps, do you tend to identify your own? Do they come out of interviews with your supervisors? Does it come from you looking at a job posting and go, I'm missing 3 things that they need there? How in your world, how do you identify the gaps that you're looking to close?
Marcus, I'm gonna tell you that's a great question. I think everybody should look. It actually came from everywhere around me. So, and I say this all the time, I tell the story all the time. 3 years ago, it's probably 3.5 now, but 3 years ago, I made my first professional development plan because the job I was at, they didn't have anything. I was looking around, nothing was out there. So I made my own. I'm like, where do I want to be 3 years from now? Right. So I looked at different job postings that I knew I wanted. This is the title that I'm reaching for. What is involved to get me there? So I put whatever my gaps were that I didn't have, I put those on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 2 years before that, I always wanted to present at ACGME. And one time I did a round table and I was so nervous. I heard my voice crack and everything. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I took a Toastmasters course. and it teaches you how to speak, and it counts your ums and your ahs, and things like that. So for me, I'm like, let me put that on there. And I did the whole course. So when I realized this is where I want to be, is going to take me there? I will list that all out. So it's not just, professional for my job, but I wanted to present. So I wasn't good at speaking. So I had to take a course. Um, I I know that there's other people out there. So I'm like, I've done this. Let me help others who want to get there. So then I took a coaching course. So it's like, it's everything. When you look at where you are and where you want to be and where you can go, just look, what do I need to take me there? And then put it on your list and just continue to mark it off. That's how you will get to where you want to go.
That's
It's hard work, but it's worth it.
I love that, and I continuously love these examples that you're giving us with Toastmasters. You don't get I don't think you get continuing ed credits for Toastmasters either.
No,
But
and
it's
a
a
lot of things you
tremendous
won't.
right, but it's a
Yes,
tremendous program, and it helped
yes,
you close that gap. Um,
yes.
we've got a slide up here now. This one's a little bit drier than some of the other topics we've been discussing today, but it's important, right? Because this slide that we have up here now talks about the regulatory environment that we live in. So this isn't your Toastmasters training. This is making sure that what you're doing truly aligns with where this industry
Yes.
is going. So how do you think about professional development within the confines of a regulatory environment?
Well, because we have to know ACGME doesn't play. That's it. So if you don't know your program requirements, then how are you going to grow? Not just for yourself, but your program, right? So you have to know. So it's like you have to continue to monitor. Like now, they're going through revisions. It's usually every 10 years. So if you're just now stepping into being a program coordinator, or if you've been, in the program seat for a while, then this is something that you have to pay attention to, because now things are changing, right? And you have to keep up with the changes. So you have to continue to monitor what the ACGME is doing with the requirements. You have to make sure that once you know, then you have to implement it in your program. And sometimes implementation is hard because leaders, they want what they want, right? But we know this is what has to happen. So it's like, how do you explain these things to them, especially on a stakeholder level, right?
Right.
So that is where, when the environment changes, you have to make sure you are aware and and then that you can relate it to everybody. But it's a collaborative effort. That's why I have that there too. You can reach out to different program directors, coordinators, institutional coordinators. And there's little groups everywhere within the GME community that when you don't know, you can go to your group. It's like a safe haven and be
Right.
like, what's this? They've changed this. How do we implement this? So you're not alone either, but you have to make sure that you stay current up on all the regulatory issues that not just ACGME, but your specialty board as well. Because
Right.
when you make changes, you have to know and you have to implement that.
Okay. Full transparency, this sounds like a lot. Yeah, I'm getting kind of tired here. We've already taught. So we asked the question earlier, what's the toughest part about professional development? And nearly everybody said time, including you. And yet, we've already heard here in this short presentation that just over the past couple of years, in addition to all this regulatory stuff on the screen right here, you've done Toastmasters, you took a tour of the sim lab, and I'm sure you did 15 other things. So how do you think about prioritizing all these? Because it can become overwhelming, right? If I look and I say, oh my goodness, I have to keep up with the ACGME. Oh man, I'm terrible on stage. I got to go to Toastmasters. I don't even know what's happening in that sim lab. How do you think about prioritization of these different initiatives within professional development?
How do I prioritize is the question.
Yes.
So with me, I'm an early person, right? I'm an early bird. And this is when I was in my undergrad, one of my professors was telling me about time management because I was just everywhere. And so I wake up early. Yes, I can grab my coffee. This is what I used to do, grab my coffee, sit on the couch, look at the news, 2 hours can go by. But now I use those 2 hours, especially, with everything, that I have going on. I use every minute of every day to 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 build me up for my professional development and everything else. So I'll get up 4:30 in the morning. I'll start working on something. I'll read something, then I'll get ready for work. You have work. And then after, same thing. I'll come home. And let me just put this out here too. Like when my kids was younger,
Mhm.
my time was shortened because
Right.
I had the kids I had to take care of. And then, I had to focus on them first. And everybody's journey is different. But it
Amen.
was really after that, then that it was like I had when they talk about empty nest is it's real because then I had all of this time. And I'm like, okay, I can devote this time to them. I mean to learning and growing and building myself and that's, how my time management started because the things that I used to do, those hours were freed up. So I took those hours to devote to Time Masters at night from 7 to 8. I had every hour planned for something in my day. I can remember my son was in football. Okay, you football from this to this. What was I doing in the car? Studying, So it's like, what are you doing with those hours that you have? And
Mhm.
I just kept moving and moving and moving, but every hour was accounted for.
Right. I really love your statement there about professional development is one of those things that, depending where you are in your life, it fits better at certain times than others. And I think it's important that we all give ourselves the grace to realize that, right? Right. There are seasons for everything.
Right.
I love this slide here because I guess, Natasha, at the end of the day, professional development is all about change, which in and of itself is not a comfortable thing, is it?
Mhm. No, no, no. And I particularly like the last one. It says difficult roads leads to beautiful destinations. My destination now, it may look beautiful, but what it took for me to get here was difficult. It was hard work,
Right.
right? I didn't just wake up and it was here, but I put the work in. And I mean, but change is also good. But when you put the work in and get to your end destination, I mean, the consistency is key with anything that you're doing.
Right. Right. I think that's really well said. Hey, keep those questions coming in. We only have a few slides left there. This is a fantastic topic, and I love just I can't say enough about the medical education community and how everyone is all so committed to learning. It's so much fun. We've got these three pillars up here, whether that be mentors, conferences, or coaching. I definitely do not want to leave out Natasha's what I'm going to call scrap ad hoc. It's getting a tour of the sim lab. It's like it's understanding, it's a call to the IT director saying, help me understand this more. So there's a lot of different ways that we can actually approach professional development. But we're going to talk a little bit now about personalized coaching, because this personalized coaching piece is super interesting to me, Natasha. But before we get to that slide on personalized coaching, I do want to ask you about how you think about mentorship because it comes up a lot in your content that you have out there. Let's just do this. Walk us through how I've heard various ways to handle mentorship. I've had you should have your own personal board of directors where you've got 3 or 4 people that might advise you. How do you think about mentorship and how do you structure it in your life?
I think mentorship is key. I have me a mentor, for the last, I want to say 2.5 years,
Mhm.
because you can only get to a certain point by yourself. Everybody needs help. I think everybody needs help at a certain point in time. So when you're at a point where you want to build your professional development, you really have to be intentional about your growth.
Your
Really have,
mentor, not to cut you off there, but I am curious. You work in this relatively small but unique world of graduate medical education. Is your mentor in graduate medical education? And do you think it
no.
matters that your mentor be in the same industry?
I honestly think that you should not have a mentor or a coach that is in your industry.
Why not?
Well, I'm in GME.
Mhm.
My coach is a COO, right,
Mhm.
of a hospital. So she's still in healthcare, but
Mhm.
she doesn't really know about like graduate medical education, like all the
Right.
workings of the ins and out. So my mentor is she's in the banking field, but she's like a director over the whole HR. So it's different only because you get different perspectives
Right.
about professional professionalism, being a professional, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, you want to grow like me. I want to grow within GME. I love GME. I'm a GME geek, right? But I want to level up myself professionally. So
Right.
when I go to my coach, she's talking over my head, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
what? But I feel that when she talks over my head, I have to listen, I have to pay attention, I have to ask questions, I have to learn. So it's like she's continually pulling me up, right?
Mhm.
Because what she is saying, I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I don't understand. So I'm going out and I'm learning and I'm um, reading the books that she gives me, for understanding and for growth.
Right.
So I think you always should have somebody not within a GME if you can help it, but also levels up of where you want to be. So,
Yes. Yes, I've heard that before, that it's good to have someone who, they are where you're trying to go.
mhm.
If we go on to this next slide here, considering personalized coaching, this really is, if we think about it, I can have a membership to the Y, or I can have a personal coach. You, Natasha, serve as a personal coach to people, and you also have a personal coach.
Mhm.
What are the differences that you see between this and a class, or whether that be Toastmasters or continuing nudging credit? What do I get different when it becomes personalized?
Well, you have to think everybody's situation is different, everybody's life is different, and everybody's job title or what they do, they may have the same job title, but the programs and the specialties are different. So when you have to think about that, everything is not going to be cookie cutter. It's not a one stamp fits all. It's not like that. So you have to figure out like a mentor. A mentor, they can only provide you with the extra push that you need, right? Where a coach provides accountability for
Yes.
what you're doing. So if you we have two program coordinators. So we may have one that I just want to be a program coordinator. That's it. That's all that fits my life. Okay. You can still be a mentor, yeah, push you a little bit, but you may have this other program coordinator that's like, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to level up. I want to grow. I want to be a director one day, or um, who knows? I've known a program coordinator who stepped out of GME and now she's a director of HR. So everybody doesn't fit into the same box. Everything needs to be tailored to your needs and where you want to go. And
Right.
coaching is designed, for that life. You have to make sure that coach is it's going to give you a one size for you. That mentor is going to push you how you need to be pushed. So it's the same thing, but it's different. You have to make sure that you know it's specifically tailored to you.
I, I
It's
I love the idea that you talk about the accountability right there. So if we think back to some of the lessons that you've shared with us today, You kudos to you. You went to the sim lab for a field tour and you learned a lot. But that coach is going to make sure that when you go back to your office, you actually do something with it, right? So that you actually
Yes.
so that you actually use what you've actually learned. Talk to me a little bit about this idea of I'm curious now that you also coach other people. How does is that just you paying it forward, or do you become a better professional through the act of coaching?
It's both, Marcus, to tell you the truth, because it is tailored to different people and their time in their lives. um, you really have to put some forethought into that for that person, right?
Right.
So, yes, I want to help you get to where you need to go, even though you have to be accountable, right? For if I give you this homework, you have to be accountable and you still have to do it. So, you have to hold your own self accountable. But for me, I'm helping you get where you need to go. So I feel good about that. I push people hard because if that's what you want, we're gonna get you there. But
Right.
then also with that, it's like it still continues to my professional development because I have to create something only for you because
Right.
your destination is different. Your journey and your lane is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So, what will help like Marcus succeed to where Marcus wants to go? So
Yes.
that, that's research and that's, you know, um, to help Marcus to get there. So I'm in that, I'm still learning and growing on top of that just to help Marcus. So
Right.
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. Wait, what can you tell me about? I'm gonna move on here to a couple questions that we have. Um, I'm going to keep this one up here. The biggest barrier to professional development. We've got limited access to resources. One that's up here, and I want to ask you a question about this because one of the things that often happens. Obviously, medical education is better probably than most industries when it comes to reimbursement for learning and credits like that. But I'm going to guess, Natasha, that being one of the type of person that you are, I don't know for a fact that your employer paid for Toastmasters. I don't know that they would comp you when you would go to learn something. I'm going to share my wife and I, we've been married for more than 3 decades. And when we were very young and with not much at all, we set a rule for ourselves that nobody would ever question anybody buying books. Buying books can be done in this house whenever, however. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just curious how you think about those resources. And obviously you want to be trying to get your employers to help with reimbursement. But how do you think about budgeting for yourself as it relates to professional development?
If it's for me in my professional development, especially if it's not like 1,000 gazillion dollars, I am going to buy it. I am going to put my money on it because it's for me. Because I feel like this, if I'm going to buy it, that's only going to be a return on me. So I am going to make sure I get what I need for me. And a lot
Mhm.
of programs, they don't, you know, I know Toastmaster, they will never um, reimburse you, but I don't look for my employer to buy things for me. One, I know it doesn't happen all the time, not unless I'm going to a conference
Mhm.
or something like that, because I put it up on myself to make my professional development plan, my professional journey. So it's me. I need to put in the work. I need to put in the money because guess what? If I do all that, when I leave, I'm taking all of that with me because I put that work into me, right?
Right.
And that's how I grew from where I was. So I mean, people could ask, hey, well, tag me. You can be tagging certified. A lot of programs will pay for it, some still don't. But if it was me, I'm still going to pay that money so I can get certified, right?
Right.
If my program doesn't do it. So it's all about how much are you worth to yourself, right?
Right.
I don't put a limit, a budget on me. If this is what I want, then I'm going to make sure that I get it for my growth. hey, I made sure I got the car I want. Why not make sure I get my, I think about it like that. Like if I can go on like a cruise or a trip or get those shoes or whatever, then I can make sure to spend the money on me for me and my growth. And
I
that's just
love
what
that.
I do.
I think it's really well said. I wanted to spend a minute there because you've given us so many great tips today on how to manage that lack of time. We haven't talked about employer support today, and that's probably something that, navigating difficult relationships, that's probably worthy of an entire program in and of itself.
That is
Um,
true.
and then, but let's spend a minute here. We're nearly at the top of the hour, and I'm going to wrap it up right after this. Hopefully, at this point, people have less uncertainty about where to start. But I'm assuming, Natasha, that when you see this gap that you've identified, what do you tend to do? Does it start with a Google search? Do you go to your mentor? When you're unsure where to start, what's usually your first move?
In the beginning, I was all over the place, right? When I built my plan, I keep just looking at my plan. But when I first started, I didn't know where to start. So I said, what do I want? It was a question. What do I
Right.
want? What do I want? So I wanted so many different things. So I said, okay, well, I know one day I want to be this, the title. So I put the title up there. Oh, like I said, I want to give a presentation at, ACGME. That was like one of my goals. So I put a presenter. And it's so crazy, Marcus, when I'm thinking about this. I made a I made a and what is it called? Um oh, where you get the posters, you put all the pictures together.
Oh, vision board.
A vision board, right. So
Wonderful.
I made a vision board. Sorry, like a lack of concentration. So I made a vision board, but I had it on my phone, right? And everything that I wanted to be, like it starts with, what do I want? I had made a list and then I put the pictures all on my vision board. And when I look back at my vision board on my phone today, I've completed all of those, but it all started with, what do I want?
I think that is key. I'm a big believer, by the way, audience, in being on time. So we're down to the final 2 minutes. But I love that answer because what I think, if the question is, back on this previous slide, uncertainty about where to start, I think it really starts inside each one of us, with us.
Yes.
What is it you want, and what are you trying to accomplish? I'm going to wrap this one up right here. Listen, if you want to learn more about Medtrix platform, feel free to use that QR code right there, or go to medtrixlab.com. Natasha Brox, you are always incredible. I want to thank you so much for joining us again. Everyone knows how to reach out to Natasha, but if you don't, we've got her LinkedIn profile up there. And Natasha, you'll be back next month. Next month might not be as fun, but we'll be talking about money, and that's always kind of fun, right?
Money, I love money. I love it.
I do as well. Hey, listen, as we're wrapping up the program right here, there's a poll right in front of you, folks. Give us a score from 1 to 10. And if you'd like to schedule a call with the Medtrix team, we would absolutely love to talk to you about the solutions that we have. But this has been a great program today. Natasha, as always, thank you for joining us. To everyone on the call today, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. For everyone on the Medtrix team, I'm Marcus Grimm.
Thank you. It was good, guys.